Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1048, and today's date is August 14th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed an interview with Andy Hoffman on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. So if you go over to YouTube and you type in X22 Report Spotlight, you'll see the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. Or you can go to newssentinel.com, same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, up until this point, we've been watching the economy deteriorate to the downside. And as we continually look at these economic indicators, we realize that the situation is just getting worse and worse as time goes on. When we look at truck shipment, this is deteriorating dramatically. I mean, it's unbelievable. When we look at shipping, truck shipments, we see in June of 2016, they are down versus June of 2015, June of 2014, June of 2013, June of 2012, June of 2011. And almost, but not quite, like June of 2010. And what we're seeing is a system that is completely breaking down. And it all makes sense if you really think about it. Because the shipments, well, they're declining. And we have to go all the way back to people not working. If people aren't working, people aren't purchasing. They don't have the funds to go out to retail. Retail, they don't need to order new goods. Factory orders are down. Manufacturing is declining. And then we get rail and truck shipments. Those will also decline. So what we can see is all these pieces, they're all fitting together, showing that this economy is declining and declining very, very quickly. It's not improving like the U.S. government and the Fed has told us. They use a lot of manipulation to make it seem like it is improving. But when we look at the real hard economic information, it shows that the government, the Fed, they are lying to the people once again. And Friday, when James Bullard came out and said, listen, we're not forecasting any type of recession or downside or anything like this. He said this back in August of 2008. And what did we see in October of 2008? The entire economy crashed. Well, they're repeating the same exact message, and here we are today. Now, 81% of Americans, they believe we are worse off now than 10 years ago. And it is true. For those people who are struggling, trying to make it every single day without jobs or jobs that have been reduced in salary because all they can do is find a part-time job, it is very difficult for those people. And we know as we move forward here, it's going to get worse for, I would say, almost everyone. For those people who have been feeling it for a very long time, it's going to feel unbelievably bad to them. For those people who have never felt anything, who's been steady in their jobs, they feel secure. They're going to be shocked of what's about to happen. And we can see that the central banks, they have nothing left. Think about the economy right now, where it is. The economy is full-blown quantitative easing. They've never stopped it. They're continually monetizing everything to keep everything afloat. They're manipulating the stock market to keep it up. They're manipulating unemployment to convince you that it's fine. They're suppressing gold and silver so no one understands what's really going on here. They've brought interest rates down to zero, and in many countries, they're in negative territory. And what we're going to see most likely here in the United States, the Fed will go to negative interest rates. And eventually what will happen is they will go to the depositors and they will start taking funds from the people before the bail-ins. And we are starting to see this. I know the ECB back in June 5th of 2014, they announced that the rate on deposits are going to go negative eventually. And after, a year or so, or 2 years of waiting, guess what? They're starting to do it. We see right now that the German Cooperative Savings Bank in Bavarian Village announced it's going to start charging retail customers to hold their cash. Starting September, for savings in excess of €100, the community's Haifasen Bank will charge 0.4% rate. They are going to take the funds out of their accounts. And we know they always start at the high level, where they say, no, it's not going to be the depositors. It's going to be, everything else. And then it moves down to those people who have 100,000, then those people that have 50,000, then those people that have 20,000. And then before you know it, it is every single person. They do this every single time, and it has already begun. Now we see the United States is out there. They're declaring a public health emergency. It has been declared for Puerto Rico. And this is for the Zika virus outbreak. Now, once again, they are using this. It's a propaganda stunt. We can see right now, most likely, they're going to have this continue on through the elections. Now, we know we have a perfect storm occurring. We have the elections coming up this fall. War is brewing all across the world. The economy is deteriorating. And we know, most likely, they want to postpone these elections if it's not going their way. We also know part of the agenda for Zika is to get everyone vaccinated, because the corporations make money this way. And who knows what's in this latest vaccine. Out in South Sudan, we see the U.S. and the UN, they need to take control of this area. And you have to remember, if we go back to what General Wesley Clark said, that we're going to be going into all of these different countries, starting with Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Yemen, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and then eventually Iran. But what we can see, and is what we've been tracking, is they're losing control in all of these areas. And we see South Sudan, they will not accept the 4,000-member United Nations Protection Force, which really means military soldiers garrisoning their country. Because the United Nations, they want to bring these soldiers in to ensure peace. Well, we know this is not what it's about. It's to take control. And we can see right now the South Sudan government has said that it's very unfortunate and we're not going to cooperate because we will not allow our country to be taken over by the UN. And that's exactly what is happening. Now, out in the South China Sea, we understand the United States and all the other nations around that area being pushed by the United States. They're trying to provoke China. China realizes this. And China and Russia, they understand what the United States, the central bankers, are trying to do. They're trying to provoke war. And we can see that Russia and China, they've been building up their military during this period of time. And so has the United States. Actually, the United States, NATO, they've been provoking these nations to build up their military because they're the ones who first started to bring in the aircraft carriers to the South Pacific to set up the missile shield, encircling China, setting up the troops, the missile shield in Eastern Europe. And we can see that these countries, they're getting prepared because where are we headed? We are headed towards war. So China, they have launched their 11th carrier killer destroyer. This is the 11th type 052 class elite guided missile destroyer. It has joined the fleet, and it's equipped with the YJ-18 long-range supersonic anti-ship missile. And this is the system that will knock out and destroy an aircraft carrier. And it is very, very difficult to stop these type of missiles because they move, they bob, they weave. And it's very difficult for the U.S. to stop this. And this is why people are saying right now that aircraft carriers are kind of obsolete because Russia has these type of systems, China has these type of systems. And what we're seeing is a huge buildup. Japan right now, the government there has decided to plan to develop a land-to-sea missile with a range of 186 miles so it can hit those targets in China. We see out in Ukraine, the Ukrainian media is calling for repression in the south of Ukraine and a fight for Crimea by all means. this whole thing is really starting to heat up. Russia is deploying their coastal defense missile system near the border with the Baltic states. They've already placed this on Crimea. And the Bastion P is a mobile modification of the Bastion S defense missile system. They're armed with the P-800 anti-ship missiles, and they are in place right now. So we are seeing this in all different areas. China, Russia, building up their defenses because they realize what's about to happen here. They realize that United States government central bankers, they're preparing for this all-out war, which is going to be World War III. But when we look at the situation right now, throughout the Middle East, the Eastern Europe, South Pacific, the United States is fighting in many different areas. It's not because these areas attacked the United States. It's because the United States, the central bankers, decided, you know what? We want control of these areas. And realistically, we're already in World War III. The governments just haven't announced it. More and more troops are being shipped overseas. I mean, we have fighting going on in Yemen, in Libya, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Syria, in Sudan, in Ukraine. This is World War III right now. We see the Houthis, they've captured a strategic area in northern Yemen, and they're making huge gains. And we can see already that the U.S.'s attempt to take control of the Middle East, to keep the puppet governments in power, to keep the petrodollar alive, it's failing. We see 11 days right now, the U.S. has been bombing Libya. And the UN envoy to Libya, Martin Kobler, he's warned that the limited support for the unity government, it's crumbling. The people inside of Libya right now, they are unwilling to back this government that was forced upon them. They had no choice. They were just told, this is your government. It is completely falling apart, and this is why the U.S. is in there. And we're going to see the coalition forces, which you've already seen, France, Egypt, UK, Libya, even though they're denying it right now. We will later find out that, yes, they are in Libya. We're seeing them inside of Libya trying to take control of the entire nation because the unity government has failed. And we're going to see bombing runs from other countries. This is going to spread, and the situation is going to accelerate. We see U.S. Vice President Biden, he's going to visit Turkey on August 24th to try to repair everything that the U.S. has done with this coup d'etat. And most likely he will not succeed. We see that the Islamic State, they're reporting, allegedly, they have attacked a base, a U.S. base in Syria. Well, wait a minute. First of all, the Islamic State is the proxy army of the United States government. And what does the U.S. why do they have a base inside Syria in a sovereign country? Did they get the permission of Assad? No. Well, first of all, they shouldn't even have a base. But we know they've been building a base. Of course, they denied it in the beginning. And now we're finding out that, yes, they do have a base. They've built 2 airfields. The French are doing it. This is in preparation to divide the country into the Kurd, Shia, Sunni, Alawite sections. And are they going to use this attack to say, whoa, the Islamic State just attacked U.S. soldiers? Now, of course, we know this is not possible. The United States government controls the Islamic State. If the Islamic State did attack, it was for propaganda purposes. So the United States can say, hey, we need to go into Syria. We need more troops. We see it happening in Iraq. We see it now happening in Syria. And we see right now the United States, their backs are against the wall. They are stuck in this area, and the only way out is to have some type of event. And the U.S. is going to continually try to take control of certain countries. This is how they play. And what we're seeing is that there was a video made by an Australia-based Chinese researcher that claims the U.S. is attempting to overthrow the Chinese government through a color revolution. And they're out there saying that Washington, they're getting prepared for this. They're plotting, they're getting ready, and they're going to make their move because what they really want to do is they want to take control of China. They want the leaders out. They want a puppet government in. They want the same thing in Russia. They tried in Russia. It has failed. They're doing it in Venezuela. They're doing it in Brazil. They've done it in Ukraine. They're trying to do it in Syria. Because remember, the entire system, it's built on debt. They need to spread the debt. They need to place the dollar on their natural resources, which is oil. They need to take control of their monetary system. And we can see right now, the U.S. is going to try, the U.S. government central bankers are going to try everything they possibly can to do this. Because the only alternative is to go to war, to cover up this great economic collapse. And we can see right now, this is where we're headed. Because the color revolution in China is going to fail just like it failed in Russia. They're failing in the Middle East. Libya is a complete mess. They don't have a unity government in there. Syria, that's out of the picture right now. Iraq, the Iraqi people are rising up. They're fighting. The U.S. is in Iraq, not even fighting the Islamic State. They're actually fighting the people in Iraq who want their country back. And if we look at all these different countries, it's always the same theme. The people want the puppet government out. They want control of their country. And the U.S. will not let this happen, because if they do, the system collapses automatically. The petrodollar is doomed. They know it. Everyone looks at the central bank and says, you did this. This is why they're working so hard and so fast to start this war to cover up what is coming. And that is the entire collapse of the monetary system. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.